Welcome back, viewers. Last time on this marathon, I did pay tribute to Leonard Nimoy's memory by saying my thoughts on the prequel game Birth by Sleep. And still to this day, it's a great game. But now, it's time for me to talk about the awesome sequel game, which might be my all-time favorite Kingdom Hearts game. Well, second favorite being Kingdom Hearts 3D. So with all that said, let's get started. Released for the PS2 in Japan on December 22nd, 2005, and in North America on March 28, 2006, the game is Kingdom Hearts II. Now, let's start with the story of this game. Now, this story begins not too long after III.5 over 2 days with Roxas, played by Jeff McCartney. In Twilight Town, Roxas has dreams of Sora's adventures from Kingdom Hearts up to the beginning of Chain of Memories, while increasingly mysterious activities begin taking place in Twilight Town during Roxas' summer vacation. Obtaining the Keyblade to defend himself from the Dusk Nobodies, well, Roxas comes in contact with a young man in black named Axel. Axel appears to know Roxas, though Roxas has no recollection of him. And, well, Roxas eventually makes his way to an old abandoned mansion where a girl named Naminé informs him that he's a nobody himself, although he did not quite know what a nobody was at the time. Finally, confronted by a mysterious red-cloaked man named Diz, Roxas discovers Sora, Donald, and Goofy sleeping in the hidden basement of the mansion. Afterwards, Roxas seems to merge with Sora. As Sora, Donald, and Goofy awake from their year-long slumber, Jiminy Cricket, who had previously chronicled the trio's adventures, finds his journal is now completely blank, save for the note, "Thank Naminé," which was written by Jiminy himself during the ending of Chain of Memories. After meeting with Pete and speaking with Master Yen Sid, the party is informed they must once again visit many worlds to protect them from both the Heartless and the Nobodies in an attempt to stop a group of powerful nobodies known as Organization XIII. These include both old but greatly changed places like Hollow Bastion, and brand new worlds the party has never encountered before. In the course of their travels, the Heartless led in two separate groups by a revived Maleficent and the Organization, regain power, eventually forcing Sora to battle a massive army of Heartless that are attacking Hollow Bastion. Along the way, they learned that the Ansem they fought a year ago was actually the Heartless of Xehanort, and that the nobody of Xehanort, Xemnas, is the leader of Organization XIII. They also learned that Xehanort was an apprentice of the real Ansem, who has been missing. After the battle, Xemnas appears and reveals their ultimate goal. The Nobodies plan to create another Kingdom Hearts, a doorway to the heart of all worlds that will presumably allow the Nobodies to get their hearts back. After confronting and defeating more members of the organization, Sora goes to the world that never was, to settle the score with the organization for good. He also finally reunites with his friends Riku and Kairi. Sora learns the truth about Roxas as well. He and Naminé are, respectively, Sora and Kairi's nobodies, created when they lost their hearts in the original Kingdom Hearts game. In the end, only Xemnas is left of the original 13 members. Sora and Riku unite to defeat him, and his new Kingdom Hearts is closed. Sora and the others are returned to their home world of Destiny Islands. Although Sora has to say goodbye to Donald and Goofy, he knows in his heart that they are true friends. However, sometime later, Sora, Riku, and Kairi receive a letter from Mickey after the credits, and they proceed to read the letter, but the contents are left unrevealed. So, what did I think of this game anyway? Well, it's awesome. And, like Meriwether said,
this journey's going to be twice as difficult as your last.
And she is not even kidding. It is twice as difficult as the first game. But I'll explain more. But first, let's move on to the gameplay of it. Now, Kingdom Hearts II offers a number of key differences from the original Kingdom Hearts. While the core gameplay remains the same, new features have been added to improve the experience. The two most notable are Sora's drive system, which allows him to fuse with one or both party allies and assume new powers and reaction commands, which is only done with the triangle button on your control pad. These allow Sora or other members of his party to perform special maneuvers in the course of battle. In addition, there are new and revamped abilities, as well as special abilities such as Glide, that can only be gained by leveling up Sora's drive forms, which are, well, Valor, Wisdom, Master, Final, Lion, Card or Dice, Anti, and another one which I'll talk about later. The basic combat and leveling system have also been redesigned beyond the addition of reaction commands and drive forms. In order to facilitate low-level playthroughs, bosses no longer offer experience upon defeat. Rather, they reward the player with boosts to their HP, MP, or AP, or with special abilities. Bosses can no longer be defeated by mere depletion of HP, but must be finished off with a combo finisher. In fact, many bosses have the ability to break out of Sora's combos if they go on for too long. The MP gauge has also been retooled to ensure that the player is never left without magic, while preventing abuse of powerful spells like Cure. Instead of being quickly refillable, that is, difficult to refill during battle, the MP gauge can easily be depleted by 3 or fewer spells, and refills automatically. Several abilities can empower Sora's offensive abilities during this period to compensate for his temporary inability to heal. The collection quests for the Trinity Mark and 99 Puppies have been merged with the treasure chest present in the first game, and it is now required that the player open every single treasure chest in order to complete the journal. Item synthesis is also retained from the original game, but has been made more complex by allowing the player to use catalysts in the recipe, as well as requiring that the player to find hidden recipes or training the Moogle in in order to create the more powerful items. As with treasure chests, the journal now tracks the player's prowess in the item synthesis side quests. Gummy ships also reappear, but are far more divorced from the main quest than in the original. Sora's progress within the main game is also relevant to the gummy ship proportion. By unlocking no routes and no longer has any effect on the options available to him in building a gummy ship, and return progress in the gummy quests have absolutely no effect on the main quest. The gummy routes themselves are less uniform and monotonous, varying from space battles against a massive pirate ship to flying through floating islands and waterfalls. In addition, many new types of gummies are available, such as teeny ships that fly alongside the main ships, and the ships can equip abilities similar to Sora's. Kingdom Hearts II also has a stronger focus on mini-games, as instead of merely rewarding the player with prizes for high scores, the player must meet certain minimum scores in each minigame, simply to fill the journal, which can be difficult for a few players, me included. Certain mini-games like skateboarding can appear in many variants throughout the worlds. while Atlantica has been converted into a minigame pretty similar to the 100-Acre Wood. You know, a while ago I did discover that this game did have some censorship to it. Besides typical English translation and localization, the English version of Kingdom Hearts II differs from the original Japanese version in the content of gameplay and several scenes. For example, when Sora battles the Hydra at Olympus Coliseum, green blood gushes out when Sora harms it. The green blood was changed to black and purple smoke or drool in the English version. Zigbar's telescopic sight was changed from a view with a crosshair and black shading around the sides to 3 glowing circles. An attack animation was also altered. In the Japanese version, Zigbar combined his 2 handheld guns to create a sniper rifle, which was used to shoot the player's party during the telescopic sight sequence. In the English version, Zigbar does not combine his guns, but twirls them around and shoots at Sora with a single gun, holding the other at his side. Axel's demise is slightly edited. In the original Japanese version, he bursts into flames during his suicide attack, and the flames are consuming his body as he fades away. At Disney Castle, while chasing Donald around for missing a date, Daisy pounds him on the backside in the Japanese version, while she simply tells him off inaudibly in the English version. Port Royal contains the most content edits. For example, when Will Turner threatens to commit suicide, he aims the gun at his head in the Japanese version, while he merely holds it at his side in the English version. Undead pirates do not catch fire when affected by fire magic, though the Grim Reaper still does. Trying to light the pirates on fire results in them running around smoking instead of burning. The pirates' muskets were modified to resemble crossbows, though the crossbows still fire with an audible musket shot. In the original Japanese version, the blood on the cursed medallions remains throughout the game, but disappears when Barbossa and Will drop them in the chest. In the Japanese version, when Jack Sparrow is stabbed by Barbossa, the sword sticks out of his chest as he staggers back into the moonlight. In the English version, the sword has been removed. And dialogue in Port Royal was also edited. When Barbossa tells Elizabeth of their curse, he mentions lust and women, which is removed in the English version and replaced by pleasurable company, which is the line used in the movie. Now that we're done with gameplay and censorship, let's talk about the characters. Let's begin with the key characters. Now, most of the key characters from Kingdom Hearts return, particularly heroes like Sora, Riku, and Kairi, as well as constant party members like Donald Duck and Goofy. King Mickey also returns, having a much larger role in Kingdom Hearts II than his cameo at the end of the first game. Old foes also return, most notably Maleficent. A number of characters first featured in Chain of Memories also make comebacks in Kingdom Hearts II. Most prominently involved are Naminé and Diz. Axel of Organization XIII also makes a return appearance. He's the only member to appear in both games. The Organization members featured in Kingdom Hearts 2 are all new to this series. Well, except Xemnas, because you guys have seen him before in the first game. Also new to the series are the mysterious, Roxas, who was first shown in the bonus ending from the first game, and also Maleficent's lackey, Pete. In addition to the Disney characters that return from Kingdom Hearts, there are also characters from several Disney features making their Kingdom Hearts debut. Most notably characters from the previous unexplored worlds of Mulan, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Tron, as well as a world dedicated to Disney's older black and white works like Timeless River. New but familiar characters have also been added to all the returning worlds. Like, other characters make prominent appearances in the original Kingdom Hearts worlds, like Twilight Town and Hollow Bastion. For example, Yen Sid the Sorcerer, Mickey Mouse's master from Fantasia, makes an appearance, like inhabiting a mysterious tower. Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather from Sleeping Beauty gives Sora his new outfit. Scrooge McDuck has taken residence in Hollow Bastion, trying to create a salty flavored ice cream. Merlin returns to Hollow Bastion, now aligned with several familiar faces from Traverse Town in the original game. Speaking of which, let's move on to the Final Fantasy characters now. Now, 17 characters from 6 of the Final Fantasy games make appearance in Kingdom Hearts II, along with returning characters from Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 10, and characters from Final Fantasy 6, 9, and 10 too debut for their first times. It has been stated by game designer Tetsuya Nomura that although the first game strictly stuck to characters Nomura designed, this time around they were going to take some risks, allowing characters from Final Fantasy games without involvement from Nomura to make appearances. The involvement of characters from Final Fantasy 6 and 9 are the results. The omnipresent Moogles featured in many different Final Fantasy titles return in Kingdom Hearts 2 as both the keepers of item synthesis and also as shopkeepers in various places and worlds. However, because of the dangers of the worlds, they also appear as holograms, with the exception of the Moogles in Hollow Bastion and Twilight Town. Other constant Final Fantasy references include Biggs and Wedge, who make appearances as shopkeepers in Twilight Town. Even references to the Final Fantasy job classes in the names of the nobodies and the names of various gunny ship blueprints. Now, let's talk about the new enemies in this game. Since everybody knows about the Heartless, we'll be focusing on the nobodies. Now, nobodies are the main enemies in Kingdom Hearts 2, appearing alongside Heartless. They are creatures without hearts, born of the body and soul of a living being who has lost its heart. Organization XIII are nobodies who have retained their human forms, albeit a bit changed from their original appearances. Another difference between the nobodies and the Heartless are that the nobodies attack more tactically, and often together. Unlike the instinctive nature of the Heartless, many of the different kinds of nobodies are named after job classes from the Final Fantasy series. Now, these nobodies consist of Dusks, Creepers, Samurais, Assassins, Dragoons, Dancers, Snipers, Berserkers, Sorcerers, as well as the Twilight Thorn in the beginning of the game, and Xemnas' dragon ship at the end. Now, like the previous game, Sora can summon certain Disney characters to aid him in battle once he has attained each of their respective items. As summons, you can use the drive gauge instead of the MP bar, which means Sora cannot drive and summon at the same time. The summon character will replace the two computer-controlled characters and fight alongside Sora for as long as the drive gauge allows. Instead of the summon character being limited to only one action, the summon character now has a menu of his own to perform multiple actions. Some solo actions and some cooperative actions with Sora. There are 4 summons in total. There is Chicken Little, who you get after, seeing Pooh for the first time in the game. There is Genie, after you, visit Agrabah for your first time. There's also Stitch, after you escape from the pit cells and space paranoids. And also Peter Pan, after you survive the Grim Reaper attack in Port Royal, with the addition from help from Tinkerbell. Now, let's move on to your world party members and assistants. Now, they appear in almost every world in the game. There are 9 in total, offering a huge leap from the original game's 6. Notable among them is Orro, the first Final Fantasy character to be a party member, along with Sora's best friend Riku. And there are also old friends like the Beast, Aladdin, Simba, Jack Skellington, and new friends like Mulan with Mushu, Tron, and Jack Sparrow. Also notable are assistant characters like Leon, Yuffie, Tifa, Cloud, Hercules, Cogsworth, Queen Minnie, Captain Pete from Timeless River, the Hollow Bastion Claymores, King Mickey, and Axel, who are not part of the party, but they can fight alongside you. They usually appear during key battles and plot moments, which I won't talk about because I want you guys to experience it for yourself. Now, in HD 2.5 Remix, there are some new features. For example, there's a new difficulty mode called Critical Mode, which is nowadays the hardest difficulty level of all, where your HP is, increased in half, and it's also, the enemies are tougher. There's also a new drive gauge called Limit Form, which has abilities from the first game and also bears resemblance to Sora's original outfit. There is also a new minigame called Puzzle, which unlocks special items, similar to the sticker album from Birth by Sleep. And here's a picture of, 2 examples of what each certain puzzle looks like in the game. In storyline, there are some new cutscenes based on the Kingdom Hearts 2 manga comics. Some involve Roxas, including scenes of him talking with Axel in Twilight Town, and there's additional scenes of Roxas and Riku, including shots from their second battle, where Riku takes on the form of Ansem, Seeker of Darkness. Naminé leading with Axel, and Sora and Riku talking before they battle the second armored form of Xemnas. There's a scene where Xigbar and Zexion are talking about Xemnas and the organization discussing their plans and commenting on incidents like Axel's death. And Zexion's weapon is revealed to be a large spellbook called a lexicon, which can be used to trap his enemies in an alternate reality. And believe it or not, there were character models for characters like Buzz Lightyear and Woody from Toy Story, which are present in this game's data, but they are unused in this. Now, also to note, all members of Organization XIII can now be fought throughout the story. Like, Roxas' battle with Sora at the Station of Awakening is now a playable, mandatory battle, similar to Zexion's battle from Chain of Memories, while the remaining members can be fought through optional Absent Silhouette side quests, which also unlocks their journal entry. All 13 members can be fought at any time at the Garden of Assemblage within the Cavern of Remembrance, where they are significantly stronger than before. There's also the Lingering Will, aka Terra, appearing at Disney Castle after the game is completed, as an optional super boss similar to Xemnas in Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. The Mushroom 13 appear across the world as after certain episodes are completed as optional bosses, similar to the various Mushroom Heartless in Kingdom Hearts. And there are more bonuses like the theater mode, which, you can view cutscenes that can be watched after you witnessed them before. There's also a new secret ending video titled Birth by Sleep, which is the teaser for Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, which I think can be difficult to unlock. But I'll talk about those later. Roxas' story is expanded in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, including his fight with Riku, and there's also a crown either bronze, silver, or gold can appear on Sora's head for defeating the following in any order, like the Mushroom 13 Heartless, the Data Rematches, and Terra, which those are required to getting the Birth by Sleep video. And now, there are several different changes throughout each world. Like in Twilight Town, the conditions to end the battle in front of the train station have changed. Like, either connect 100 hits, go below 30% health, or battle for 90 seconds. And in addition to alert form, the mirror has a description in the mysterious tower. And after you're fighting with the nobodies at the Sandlot, you do encounter Lexius's absent silhouette. In Hollow Bastion, after the event scene with Sephiroth, a scene with Yuna, Riku, and Pain flying out of a hole in the castle wall is shown. This hole leads to a new area known as the Cavern of Remembrance, which leads to the Garden of Assemblage, where you can fight the Organization data battles. And also, that place is crawling with new but tough Heartless. Yeah, I like to call them powerful versions of Heartless you've seen before. And sometimes you need to rely on your flying, your high jumps, aerial dodge, or quick runs in order to get through the place. In the Land of Dragons, the morale gauge depletes at quicker intervals, requiring the player to finish the missions faster. And also the value of surprise attack spirit gauge has been reduced. Carts and rockets no longer reappear immediately after leaving the screen and returning. And I also need to note that this game was the last time Pat Morita got to reprise his role as the Emperor before his death. In the Beast Castle, conditions to end the battle in the living room have changed, like pretty similar to in Twilight Town. And there's also Cogsworth's stamina depletes at the faster rate in the secret passageway. And in the Beast Room, you do encounter Marluxia's absent silhouette, which in my opinion is the toughest because of his attacks that can easily kill you. Speaking of which, someone told me that in Japan, Marluxia's element of flowers represent death. Because, believe it or not, Marluxia's flowers are cherry blossoms. Man, never thought of them that way. And in Olympus Coliseum, the time limit for which the player must defeat Pete while protecting Meg has changed from 2 minutes to 90 seconds. And after your fight with Demyx in the Underworld Atrium, he tells you about the absent silhouettes, and the one that appears in the Underworld is Zexion. Now, he may have the lowest HP out of the other absent silhouettes, but he's still no slouch, because his lexicons can suck you, and you need to escape by avoiding his illusions and attacking the real lexicon. In Disney Castle, the enemies do not drop prize boxes while you're protecting Minnie. And in Timeless River, the changes have been made to the 4 time window battles. Now, there aren't that many changes in Port Royal, but Larxine's absent silhouette appears on the Ile de Moita. In Agrabah, the conditions to end the battle in the streets have changed, like the last 2 I mentioned before. And the battles of the Sand Swept Ruins have changed. Like, enemies do not drop prize boxes, and the time to activate the switches after examining the monument, have increased from 30 to 45 seconds. Also, when you land in Agrabah during your second visit, you encounter Vexen's absent silhouette. In Halloween Town, you get new costumes and music in Christmas Town. In the 100 Acre Wood, the time limit for the Spooky Cave game has changed from 3 to 5 minutes, and the rules for the Honeypot game has been changed as well. There's even, your alert form is available for the mini-games too. Now, there aren't that many changes for Space Paranoid, so I guess that one's okay. But in the world that never was, there's, I already said that Zigbar changes his gun movement while attempting to snipe Sora from above. And also while I was playing it, I did discover that the nobodies can appear in the streets, too. And there aren't that many changes for Pride Lands either, I don't think. And no changes for Atlantica either. And in addition to critical mode, compared to standard and proud, enemies inflict twice the damage, except for the Mushroom 13, who inflicts 1.25 damage. Now, several abilities are granted on the third day, like Reaction Boost, Finishing Plus, Draw, 2 Lucky Luckies, and MP Hysteria and Experience 0. Roxas's initial HP is 50, and AP increases by, well, increments of 3 instead of 2. And also, compared to standard and proud, HP and MP qualities from bonuses are halved. So it only gets 60 instead of 120 HP. Experience is gained in 3/4 of the normal amount, and save file displays critical mode. And unlocking the Birth by Sleep video just requires 1 to win the gold crown. In the PS2 browser screen, there is a symbol attached to a saved data file on the memory card. Even filling the drive gauge is easier, and the maximum level of the drive gauge is increased from 7 to 9. There's even new weapons and accessories available, like Wearer's Proof, Executive's Ring, Grand Ribbon, Frozen Pride, Centurion, Ultimate Mushroom, and more. And also on here, it does feature improved graphics and completely orchestrated soundtracks. All cutscenes, including those that were created for the original Japanese version of the game, are voiced in English now. The Epton silhouettes and the respected data rematches now use their English grunts, laughs, and battle cries. While Roxas has received more drastic changes to incorporate those of his 358 or 2 Days incarnation, and even some of Ventus's from Birth by Sleep. Now, overall, Kingdom Hearts 2 is an awesome sequel. I mean, sure, it's harder than its predecessor, but the battles are fun and challenging. Some of the mini-games are fun while challenging at the same time, and I love that they gave us more Disney and Final Fantasy characters to interact with here. I just hope that as soon as Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out, I just hope it'll be as great as this. I give this game the highest rating of 100%. Well, that's it for now. Be sure to join me next time, where I talk about the less than perfect DS side game that takes us into the Datascape. To be continued.